By the time I then told the doctor, I think I was in my 5th week of pregnancy. Now, I don't know what they do in other states, sis. I don't know what they do in other parts of the world, but where I am, which is in the northeast part of the US, this is what they do, okay? For me, when I called the doctor and told them that I was pregnant, I had to come in and
life unscripted, fame the fun and last, come witness. Yeah, come witness. Yeah. April's life has changed so much, see what it's like with a new mom touch. It's okay if you don't have a clue, join the club cause it's new to us too. Yeah. It's a mom's life unscripted, hey.
do a blood test. And so the blood test, they were looking for a certain range based on when I told them, my last period was, which is March 17th. So they were looking for a certain range. Now this is the following week, so this is like the week of April 15th. So they're looking for a certain level. So they're like, you have to come in and do blood work. Coop. So you have to come in and do blood work. They didn't even ask for a pee sample or anything. It was like, no, if you're pregnant and you're like in your 5th week, you have to come and do blood work. So that's what I did. And they confirmed I was pregnant. They were like, your blood count, the HCG level is in the proper range based on how far along in pregnancy you are. So you're good to go. Every few days from the 5th week until week 7, I had to go and give blood. And they were checking to make sure that the blood was, the levels were rising. And they also did an ultrasound, one of those, vag ones, because it's too early to do one on top of the stomach. So they did a vag one. I don't know what it's called, like transvaginal or something, whatever. It's one of those. And the first one they do is just to check to make sure it's not an ectopic pregnancy, which is where the fertilized egg is like in the tubes. So once they confirm it's not in the tubes, because if it's in the tubes and they catch it that early, then what they're able to do is give you medication to abort the pregnancy, because at that point it's not going to be viable anyway. Because what happens is if you don't catch an ectopic pregnancy prior to the tube bursting, it can cause a serious rupture in your uterus, and you could possibly die if you're not able to get medical attention before it happens. So and again, a lot of women don't even know they're pregnant till like 6-8 weeks of pregnancy, because a lot of women don't have regular periods. So I'm saying if you have regular periods like me, and you kind of know like when you're supposed to come on and stuff, and you miss your period and they've confirmed pregnancy, make sure they give you an ultrasound so that if you do have an ectopic pregnancy, they can get rid of it so that it's not life-threatening to you. And I don't want the pro-life people coming in here saying nothing, okay? Now, because I know there's people out there. We gonna move past that. So after they confirmed that the fertilized egg was the embryo was in the right space in the uterus, you're pretty much good to go. And then I went every week until I was 8 weeks pregnant. When I was 8 weeks pregnant, that's when they asked me for a pee sample. Between weeks 5 to 8, I traveled to San Diego for my birthday. Like I said, I found out 2 weeks before my birthday. So I went to San Diego, hung out with family, met up with some friends, and I came back, and then I had my 8-week appointment. And like I said, during this time, I didn't have any morning sickness. I don't have any food aversions. I was already taking a prenatal prior to becoming pregnant, so That didn't change. I did up the vitamin D that I was taking. So that was like the only change I made. If you're interested in the type of vitamins that I take, just let me know. And I can definitely list them in the comments or make a separate video about some of the supplements that I've been taking since I've been pregnant. And then once I hit 8 weeks and the doctor reconfirmed my due date, which I kind of already knew my due date from like when they first checked at 5 weeks. After that, then that's when they mentioned like you're gonna start coming to the doctor every 4 weeks. Now, your cadence going to the doctor will be based on your insurance. Okay, so based on my insurance, and again, I live in the Northeast, so the cadence that I go to the doctor is every 4 weeks until you hit 28 weeks. Once I hit 28 weeks, then it's every 2 weeks until I hit 36 weeks. Then it's weekly until I hit till the baby come out. So then it's weekly until the baby comes out. So that's my cadence. So after I hit 8 weeks, because I was so used to like going and it giving me an ultrasound photo, but once I hit 8 weeks, that stopped until I hit 11 weeks. So that's kind of what happened. So from 8 weeks to 11 weeks, like I said, I didn't have any morning sickness. I didn't have any food aversions. I did notice though that I was peeing a lot. Having to go to the bathroom really increased around weeks 6 to 8, where I was constantly going to the bathroom. I didn't have any morning sickness. I wasn't really tired then, but my husband made sure that I didn't overdo it. And then that's it. What else? And then from weeks 8 to 11, it was nothing deep. Week 10, I did have to go back to the doctor. So at week 10, what they do is, that's like between weeks 10 and 13, they bring you in to do like Down syndrome screening. And based on my area, I know you hear some people saying, oh, I already know the gender. If they're under 35, that's because they paid to find out the gender, right? As sis, I was not paying to find out the gender of this baby. Okay. So my husband and I were like, we'll just wait until the 20-week anatomy scan. I'm already 10 weeks, so even though that's like another 10 weeks. Now, if you're over 35, because at that point you're advanced maternal age, they will cover your blood work to find out the gender of your baby. But if you're under 35, you have to pay. And I don't know if you're in your I don't know if the cost varies based on how close to 35 you are, but for us, because I'm not 35 yet, I said forget it, I'm not paying no 35. But the other blood work for the Down syndrome screening and stuff, that stuff is covered. So you should get it done before you enter your second trimester. A lot of times they kind of mandate that you get the blood work and the scan done before your 12 weeks. So that's what happened with me. So at 10 weeks, I got the blood work done. At 11 weeks, they bring you in, and that was actually the last ultrasound that I got in my first trimester. So at 11 weeks, I went to the doctor, and that's when you're able to do the ultrasound above your stomach. They're no longer sticking that thing in your hoo-ha. And they are checking to make sure that they can see like a nasal bone. They're checking to make sure that there's a certain distance between, like there's certain fluid that has to be in the neck if it's too thick. They're checking for all that stuff, fingers, toes, make sure everything's all right. So all that came back, and then what they do is they calculate the score. The score tells you your risk level. I'm low risk based on the blood work and that test. So far, so good. My husband and I also did genetic testing, which I think is becoming a lot more popular now. So before you get pregnant, depending on your age, both of us are in our 30s, they kind of recommend that you do genetic testing. And so what that does is, if